Pennie, how are we feeling?
We didn't sleep.
Don't bonk me.
Fuck.
Pennie, where are we?
That's not the angle. You gotta get more.
Where are we?
Oh my god.
Where are we?
I don't know.
Where are we? We're in the Turkish Airways lounge because we're here for 30 hours and we needed somewhere to stay. Yeah, because like we got here 6 p.m. basically 6 p.m. and then I've got the tom yum soup.
It's actually really good soup.
And he's got, yeah.
You know you're editing all of this, right?
I know. Voiceover Darren here. We decided to stay at a place called Divalux Resort and Spa, which ended up costing us less than the price of entry for the Turkish Airlines lounge access. So we ended up only paying $50 for accommodation that night. Oh my god.
Good morning. Observing wildlife here in Thailand. So yesterday I kind of thought they were going to take us in the golf buggy to drive like to the other building, but I didn't realize like the building was right here in front of us. Very convenient, honestly.
So lewd.
Oh my god, are we holding hands for marriage?
Disgusting. Give it a push. They're definitely cool.
Is it?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Let me just walk. Let's get food. Let's ask where we can get food.
Okay.
And just we'll walk around.
Okay. Hi. Is there anywhere we can get some lunch? Oh, that one. Okay. Oh, thank you. Oh. Hey, we get to ride in the thing.
Go buggy. You know, I've noticed every time we've gone on holiday, we end up staying at some sort of resort.
It's only like 2 of them.
Yeah, the 2 holidays we have been on.
The resorts are pretty good, aren't they?
Yeah.
Okay, so, whoa, whoa, whoa,
Butterfly
whoa.
peacock custard.
Whoa, whoa,
Mango custard.
whoa, what is happening?
It's
The
with a
camera.
collaboration from earlier.
Oh my god, he doesn't know what he's doing.
I don't think they've had any like proper customers since COVID.
That's cool.
That's good.
We just managed to stumble upon it from
Well, we
Google Maps.
really picked the nicest looking option of like
Yeah.
everything within like a 20-minute drive. We picked the most expensive. Not the most expensive. No,
It wasn't. It wasn't even close.
It wasn't even close to being the most expensive.
Yeah.
I think it's because it's new.
Pyramid rice.
Boop. He's shy. He's really shy.
You're tickling it.
Oh no. Oh no. Step fern.
So
Dad lost luggage.
they actually don't know. Well, I guess we're watching this in the future.
In the future, yeah.
But if you've forgotten, our luggage got left at Bangkok. We called Qantas 3 times. Pennie's mum.
They said they couldn't find it. And we went to Germany. They found it immediately.
Yeah, very efficient. Bold German man. Just asked for a receipt, gave it to him. He's like, "Oh, Darren and Pennie, it'll be here tomorrow."
8 a.m. 8:30 a.m. beyond the dawn.
Hot girl summer. Hot girl summer. I've chanted enough in my warm up. Hot girl summer.
Hey, so you know how we need some clothes?
I mean, if you're funding my new wardrobe,
Okay.
what?
This is Pop Mate. Apparently everyone in Berlin drinks this.
I'm opening it.
Alright.
I got it.
Not bad?
Weird. It's a bit herbal.
Maybe it grows on you. Apparently people in Berlin drink this.
So sold on this, can you say? I was like, let's get it at the supermarket. No, he had to get it at the vending machine right now. Right now.
It's growing on me after the second sip. We're at a beer garden. and we ordered some massive food. And Penny got this cute little drink. Look at that now. Okay, we're in Friedrichshain now. Berghain. It's just down that way, and then to the left.
This man's priorities are beer and club.
I'm so curious to see what it looks like.
In the daytime, let's go.
Yeah, let's
Do you
go.
reckon they'll let us in if we look like this? I have a. Okay, like you'll get in probably.
This is Berghain, one of the most famous clubs in the world. The club opened in 2004 in a disused heating plant that was abandoned in the 1980s, and it's known around the world as the capital of techno and one of the hardest clubs to get in, if not the most difficult. Lines are often several hours long, and the rejection rate is at least 60%. Far out. So this is the infamous 4-hour line, possibly longer. I'm pretty sure these are the stickers they make you put on your cameras. Made it. This is Holzmarkt 25, which is an open-air entertainment quarter on the Spree River, filled with bars, food stalls, and good vibes. It's located in the very hip neighborhood of Friedrichshain and was started by a group of friends and artists who met in the now closed Bar 25 after they purchased the land from the previous owner to turn it into what it is today. Believe it or not, it was around 9 PM in this video. Summer in Berlin means very long days with the sun setting around 10 PM. Berlin puts a lot of emphasis on nature and the preservation of public spaces, a demand of the people since the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989, and which I think makes it one of the most beautiful capital cities in all of Europe. Imagine having a city that promotes having a fun time.
Imagine having a city that promotes being out in nature.
This is us at Berlin Airport. Penny's luggage didn't end up arriving until 2 flights after they said it would. And then mine didn't even arrive until 2 days after that. So we basically spent the whole day at the airport.
We made it.
That night we went to one of those audio-visual interactive installations called Dark Matter Berlin. This was actually one of the further places we went in Berlin, about 5 kilometers away from the city center. And we made our way there on ride-sharing scooters. Berlin has excellent bike lanes almost everywhere, so we had no problems getting around. The exhibit has 7 rooms with unique audiovisual experiences. I would highly recommend it, although one criticism I have would be that it doesn't look like they update the exhibits at all, so you'd be able to see everything in one trip.
Oh no, this is incredible.
This is Sanssouci Palace in the nearby town of Potsdam. King Frederick the Great built the entire place to be a man cave essentially, and he would invite important people to stay and have parties. The most famous of whom is probably Voltaire, who lived with him at the palace.
Not exactly.
The palace itself sits on a huge plot of land bigger than central Potsdam, and has the original palace, the new palace, another one called the Orangerie Palace, as well as several other buildings like the Temple of Friendship, the Chinese House, and their own personal windmill, which is what you're seeing here. And also the entirety of Potsdam University. We were given these little phones which would tell us the history of the palace in each room. King Fred was apparently very big on music and the arts. This room was actually the personal room of King Frederick himself, and the armchair that you can see in the back there is actually the one that he died in. According to Voltaire's memoirs, Frederick was almost certainly gay, and therefore had no children and was succeeded by his nephew, Frederick William II, who had him buried next to his father, Frederick William I. It wasn't until German reunification in 1991 that Frederick the Great was given his dying wish and buried at Sanssouci. Here we are on the way to Museum Island. Located in the heart of the city, it's an island full of museums, hence the name Museum Island.
Oh, there's quite a lot of construction happening right now.
This is the Humboldt Forum, a museum dedicated to human history, art and culture, and is often considered the German equivalent of the British Museum. It's located inside the rebuilt Berlin Palace, which was destroyed by the Soviet government in 1951. And reconstruction was only completed in 2020 after decades of debate about whether the building deserves historical significance due to its imperial past. The exhibit on screen is called Berlin Global and goes through different facets of Berlin culture and the history behind them. Also, between each room there are 2 doors with choices above them. When you walk through, the smart wristband records your answer and you can see and compare them at the end. A very cool idea. This exhibit is actually where I learned most of the facts about Berlin that are in this video.
Alright, 1848. 1848. Turn the wheel of history, I'm turning. Oh,
Yeah, you have to grab from down under, and now we have to wait till everything is loaded in red. So
oh.
you have to keep like holding.
That's not doing
Oh yeah, the arrow is here.
Oh, wow.
So
Oh, wow.
French sector of West Berlin and across the border into the Soviet sector. Their destination is the House of Ministries on Wilhelmstraße, a secret German government. East German police pushed the demonstrators back, Soviet military authorities sent in tanks. Many demonstrators take refuge in Iceland.
Underneath the Humboldt Forum is the original Berlin Palace cellar, built in the Middle Ages. It is the only surviving part of the original palace. And here are some views from around Museum Island and Mitte, which translates to middle, taken over 2 days. On our last day in Berlin, we tried to get into Berghain by lining up at 10 AM on a Sunday. Obviously, we were turned away, so instead we learnt about how the GDR, the Soviet-controlled part of Germany, lived back in the day.
Longer, like goes on escalators, holds boyfriend turns back.
The German Democratic Republic, also known as East Germany, was a Soviet socialist state that existed from 1949 until 1990. The economy was centrally planned and state-owned, and people there lived an entirely different existence to the Federal Republic of Germany that was part of the Allied Tri-Zone held by the US, UK and France. The museum is very interactive and lets you touch and play with many of the things that real East Germans would have used, most of which were manufactured in East Berlin.
Yeah. Let it go. Nice.
Nice. Okay, let's take that with us.
Alright, Penny. What have you got here?
I've got a giant kebab box.
The donut box.
Sorry, donut box.
Funnily enough, the signature food of Berlin is the doner kebab. It's very different to what we have in Australia and is more like a sandwich or burger filled with meat, fresh vegetables, roast vegetables, and many different sauces.
Mamma mia.
What if there's actual Italians who can't do that?
So good.
We also went to visit the East Side Gallery, which is one of the remaining parts of the Berlin Wall and has now been turned into a street art gallery. The most famous of which is this painting of Leonid Brezhnev and Erich Honecker in a socialist fraternal kiss.
So, Penny, where are we?
Dead.
We found a little park next to the river. We're gonna have a nap now. Good night.
Look at that. We're riding into an airfield. This is, say it,
Tempelhofer
which
In
was
Berlin.
in Berlin.
Finally, my favorite place in Berlin has got to be Tempelhofer, which is a disused airport which was used in World War II to build Ju-87 Stuka bombers and FW-190 fighter planes. In 2009, Berlin officials announced that it would be opened as a city park with plans for construction of apartments, commercial buildings, and a library. But in 2014, the people of Berlin voted to preserve the entire park as a free space. It's a very popular spot for Berliners to enjoy nature and hang out with their friends.
Putting my arm out. Okay.
Yeah.
Ready?
Wow, look at that sunset behind us. It's beautiful.
Wow. People probably like these filthy vloggers.
It's probably banging.
That's beautiful.
Look at all these people just chilling on a Sunday night, I guess. Having a barbecue in a fucking airfield at 8 p.m.
This is Tempelhof Airport, which has now been turned into a museum and event space. The fenced off area on screen is actually where the Berlin E-Prix is held every year.
That is actually beautiful.
After Berlin, we decided to drive to the Nürburgring, the longest racetrack in the world, which is on the west side of the country, which meant an 8-hour drive through Hanover, past Cologne, and into the mountains on the famous Autobahn. In case you didn't know, much of the Autobahn has no speed limit, so nothing I'm doing here is illegal.
Hello. I just woke up.
We just drove about 300 kilometers from Berlin to Hanover, which is about 1/3 of the way to the Nürburgring.
Deemed the most boring town in Germany.
Really?
Well, it's deemed one of the more boring cities in Germany.
Interesting. Well, if you look over there,
The new town hall, because this entire city got leveled during World War II. Wow.
traditional German housing.
Hanover was actually very boring. The historical old town is very small and not very interesting, but here are some nice pictures.
Update, we just stopped over in Hanover and it didn't pass the vibe check, eh?
Yeah, it was pretty boring. The old town is about 3 streets, and then around Old Town, they try to trick you into thinking that Old Town is bigger because they've got all these rebuilt like buildings that just look really shit because they're not wooden, they're brick.
With paintings and stuff.
Yeah, like it's just it doesn't look right.
It's tourist central, like there were so many Asian restaurants there.
Anyway,
We're now on our way to
the Nürburgring.
Nice. Is it really a road trip without Macca's? We got some nuggets and some wings. It's a chicken snack pack, I think. How do you like the chicken wings, Darren?
Actually not bad.
Pretty good. This is like tiny though, baby chicken. Pleasantly surprised.
From this point on, we basically drove non-stop for 400 kilometers. I had booked a car to take on the track for 6:30 PM, the last slot of the day, but based on our current speed, we weren't going to be on time. So about halfway, I decided to just gun it as fast as possible, which again is fully legal. We managed to arrive at the car hire right at 6:30, but the person before us was going around the track really slowly and only arrived back at the car hire 15 minutes before track access was closed, meaning I could only get my 2 runs in if I did 1 instructor run and immediately went again, meaning Pennie couldn't sit with me. The car I chose is the mighty Toyota GR Yaris from Apex Nürburg. This one had bucket seats, full roll cage, coilovers, wheels and semi-slick tyres, and was absolutely terrifying since the track was a bit wet. And it also happened to be my first time driving manual left-hand drive. I've driven this track a lot in racing sims, but nothing can really prepare you for the real thing, especially with the threat of a €10,000 fine if you crash. As you can see, I'm taking it pretty easy, probably not even pushing 50%. This is one of my favourite parts of the track, the climb up the mountain, with many smooth turns and not much braking. The Nürburgring was nicknamed Green Hell by F1 driver Jackie Stewart, and it's not hard to see why. There are very narrow margins for error, and many blind corners, with the greenery blotting out the sky at times. The turn coming up is the track's most famous, the Carousel, a banked hairpin corner that is really fun, but difficult to get right going quickly. And before I knew it, my time at the ring was over. There was no way to time my lap properly, because on the tourist laps they blocked the start-finish line, but the timer on my GoPro says I did it in about 11 minutes, by far the longest lap I've ever set in a car. You actually don't have to hire one of these cars to get on the track. In fact, I could have driven the Volkswagen Polo we hired to get here, but I think that it was worth the $500 for a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
What a machine! Oh my god.
Around the Nürburgring there are a lot of old traditional German towns, like this one called Adenau. This actually gave us the traditional small German town vibes that we were looking for in Hanover. Well, we found this Catholic Church of St. John the Baptist, and a prototype Land Rover apparently. The church probably already existed in the 10th century, but was demolished once in 1908 and then completely destroyed in a bomb attack in 1945. So this is actually a completely new building erected in 1969. We stayed the next day in Cologne, Germany's 4th largest city. It's kind of only known for the cathedral, which is very impressive to see in person, but first we had a cute picnic by the Rhine River.
Oh my god, why are they walking towards me?
You want to play a game of chicken, Darren?
We're playing a game of duck. Oh, that's such a
Aww.
This is the world famous Cologne Cathedral. Wait, no it isn't. This is. That was just a model. It started construction in 1248 and was only completed in 1880 after several stoppages. Because of the 2 huge spires, it's the largest facade of any church in the world. The church is most famous for having the Shrine of the Three Kings, believed to hold the remains of the 3 wise men. That's right, those 3 wise men. We weren't able to get up close to it because the high altar was blocked off that day, but if you look closely, I think you could spot it right here. Also, in the car park, there are some really cool Roman walls just chilling out. By the time we reached Amsterdam, we really started forgetting to use the GoPro, so the amount of footage you're about to see may drop off a little bit. We travelled by train from Cologne Central Station, also known as
Köln Hauptbahnhof.
and arrived in Amsterdam Central, also known as
Amsterdam Centraal.
a few hours later, only 500 meters away from our hostel, which was only accessible by foot. Amsterdam is a very interesting place. I think a lot of British people think of it as Disneyland for adults, and that attitude is reflected by the complete lack of any Dutch people in the city's historical centre, which seems to have been overtaken by tourist-only attractions like the plethora of fast food joints for when you have the munchies, museums, shopping and hostels. The red light district was also very busy, but again, a very distinct lack of actual Dutch people outside of the workers. So we rode bikes to the Heineken experience and Pennie almost died like 3 times. So we've still got another day of bike riding as well.
2 times where the car kind of almost ran into me. Well, I almost ran into the curb and a lady.
Yeah, we're here now. We're about to go into the Heineken experience soon.
We can bypass history, Darren. Look.
This is the Heineken Experience, a museum/attraction built into Heineken's first brewery on the outskirts of the city centre. During the experience, they show you the history of the company, as well as how the beer's made, whilst walking through the rooms that would have brewed Heineken back in the day.
Wow.
Pennie, I'm a beer.
Darren, look, beer.
Coffee, right? So now I want you to look at the beer and I want you to shout with affection, I love you, beer.
I love you.
Yes, guys, that's the spirit. You need to love your beer because then
The main attractions of Amsterdam seem to be drugs, sex and EDM. So obviously we went to the Hash Museum, Sex Museum and House Museum.
This is my house. For the next hour, it will be our house. Together in love and harmony. This place is all about learning our culture. A true revolution. We start and end here on this dance floor. In between the 2 shows, you're free to walk around and do whatever fits your mood. If you have any questions, check one of our hosts. Amsterdam, are you ready? Yeah. Amsterdam, are you ready? Yeah. All right, let's do this. First show, introduction, core values.
Put into words by the first preacher of house himself, Mr. Chuck Roberts.
In the beginning there was Jack, and Jack had a groove, and from this groove came the grooves of all grooves. And while one day viciously throwing down on his box, Jack boldly declared, "Let there be house," and house music was born. I am, you see, I am the creator, and this is my house. And in my house there is only house music. But I am not so selfish, because once you enter my house, it then becomes our house and our house music. And you see, no one man owns house, because house music is a universal language spoken, understood by all. You see, house is a feeling that no one can understand really unless you're deep into the vibe of house. House is an uncontrollable desire to jack your body. And as I told you before, this is our house and our house music. And every house, you understand, there is a keeper. And in this house, the keeper is Jack. Now some of you might wonder, who is Jack and what is it that Jack does? Jack is the one who gives you the power to jack your body. Jack is the one who gives
We also went to visit Rotterdam, Europe's largest seaport, where we saw this exhibit about the Dutch masters and the old harbour, which was much smaller than we expected. In contrast to Amsterdam, Rotterdam is very modern, with infrastructure more similar to what you would expect from an American city, and this is due to heavy bombing by the Nazis in 1940, which almost leveled the entire city. We actually flew to London after this, but we don't have any footage of that. Here are some snippets since we didn't really record anything.
Here comes the sun, here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. Little darling, it's been a long, cool, lonely winter. Little darling, it feels like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun, here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. Little darling, the smiles returning to the faces. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun, here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. Sun, 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 here it comes. Sun, 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 here it comes. Les rêves des
And that's the end of our Europe trip together. It was a great holiday, the best of my life, but it had to end at some point. I flew back to Sydney while Pennie spent another 2 months traveling the world.
Par la fin, je suis malheureux. Pas longtemps chemin, tout ce que je peux, car rien n'est gratuit dans la vie. L'espoir est un plat bien trop vite consommé. À sauter les repas, je suis à